The biting wind of Oakhaven always seemed to carry a whisper of judgment, a chilling echo that resonated deeply within Alara. She was a woman born of brilliance, an intellect that soared beyond the mundane horizons of her small, unforgiving town, yet she remained shackled by the chains of poverty. Her mind, a vibrant tapestry woven with complex equations and audacious visions, yearned to unravel the mysteries of sustainable energy, to gift the world a cleaner, brighter future. This dream, however, was not merely ambitious. In Oakhaven, it was deemed an impossibility, a foolish fantasy whispered by a girl with dirt under her fingernails and starlight in her eyes. The local elites, men whose fortunes were built on the very industries Alara sought to dismantle, scoffed at her audacity. Among them, Mr. Thorne stood as the undisputed titan, his voice a booming pronouncement of the town's collective skepticism. His eyes, cold and dismissive, had met hers across countless town meetings, each gaze a fresh wound. He relished in publicly ridiculing her ideas, painting her as a naive dreamer, a child chasing windmills. His words, sharp as shards of ice, chipped away at her confidence, yet never quite extinguished the fire that burned within. The memory of the annual Oakhaven Science Fair, a day meant to celebrate local ingenuity, was etched into Alara's soul with agonizing clarity. She had stood beside her meticulously crafted prototype, a miniature wind turbine designed with revolutionary efficiency, her heart thrumming with a fragile hope. Mr. Thorne, however, had approached her display, a sneer twisting his lips. His booming laughter, joined by the snickers of his cronies, had echoed through the hall as he derided her invention as a toy, a childish distraction. He had even gone so far as to suggest she focus on more suitable pursuits, a veiled insult at her gender and social standing. The humiliation had been a searing brand, burning tears into her eyes that she refused to shed. Her family, though a haven of unconditional love, could offer little protection from the cruel tides of public opinion or the crushing weight of financial hardship. Their meager earnings barely kept a roof over their heads, leaving no room for the expensive materials her experiments demanded. They watched, heartbroken, as Alara endured the mockery, their inability to shield her a silent agony. Only Liam, her childhood friend, offered a consistent, quiet source of encouragement. He saw beyond the town's prejudice, recognizing the extraordinary mind beneath the tattered clothes. His words were always gentle, a balm to her wounded spirit. But even his unwavering support felt helpless against the overwhelming tide of Oakhaven's cynicism. That night, after the science fair debacle, Alara had stood by the window of her small bedroom, the moon casting long, mournful shadows across the worn floorboards. Her grandmother's faded photograph, clutched tight in her hand, offered a silent testament to a shared vision, a legacy of ingenuity and defiance. Her grandmother, a woman ahead of her time, had also faced ridicule for her unconventional ideas. Alara made a solemn vow, a promise whispered into the night. She would not just succeed. She would revolutionize. She would prove them all wrong. The memory of her grandmother's unwavering spirit fueled a resolve that hardened within her. The crushing weight of betrayal soon followed. Even some whom she had trusted, individuals who had once praised her early sketches, now turned their backs, their faces mirroring the town's prevailing disdain. Their fickle loyalties stung more than Mr. Thorne's open hostility. Oakhaven, once her home, had become a prison of judgment and limited horizons. With a heavy heart, Alara gathered her meager belongings, a worn satchel, a few changes of clothes, and most importantly, her notebooks filled with intricate diagrams and complex calculations. Her farewell to her family was brief, choked with unshed tears and unspoken promises. She left Oakhaven with nothing but her unwavering resolve and the weight of 1,000 unanswered dreams. As the rickety bus rumbled away, carrying her towards an unknown city, she clutched a single worn photograph of her grandmother, her eyes fixed on the distant horizon, a silent declaration of war against the scorn that had defined her past. The city arrived in a blur of towering steel and ceaseless motion, a stark contrast to the sleepy, judgmental streets of Oakhaven. Alara stepped off the bus, a lone figure swallowed by the anonymous throng, her worn satchel feeling impossibly heavy. The sheer scale of the metropolis was overwhelming. A symphony of honking taxis and distant sirens replaced the chirping crickets of her childhood home. For days, the city remained an unforgiving labyrinth. She slept on park benches, her few treasured notebooks clutched protectively, and rationed stale bread, the hunger a constant, gnawing presence. Each door she approached, hoping to find an investor for her radical ideas, slammed shut with a polite but firm rejection. Her youthful appearance and lack of formal credentials in the big city were insurmountable obstacles. They saw a naive girl, not a visionary. Desperate, Alara took on a series of menial jobs, each one a stark reminder of her precarious existence. She cleaned offices by night, her hands aching, and waited tables by day, enduring endless demands with a forced smile. Every spare moment, every stolen minute, was dedicated to her true purpose. In the dim light of her rented, cramped room, she meticulously refined her designs, sketching circuits and calculating efficiencies, the faint scent of solder filling the air. Her prototypes, small and fragile, began to take shape, each one a testament to her unyielding spirit, built with scavenged parts and sheer ingenuity. The memory of Mr. Thorne's sneer and the town's laughter fueled her resolve, pushing her through exhaustion and despair. One rain-swept evening, while delivering late-night coffee to a dilapidated research facility, she stumbled upon an unexpected opportunity. An old man, his white hair a wild halo around a kind, intelligent face, was hunched over a workbench, surrounded by an organized chaos of wires and circuit boards. This was Dr. Eris, a reclusive but brilliant physicist, whose reputation for eccentricity was as legendary as his past innovations. He noticed Alara's keen interest in his work, a spark in her eyes that resonated with his own lifelong passion. After a hesitant conversation, during which Alara, emboldened by a sudden surge of hope, passionately described her sustainable energy concept, Dr. Eris saw something beyond her youth and poverty. He saw genius. He offered her a small corner of his cluttered lab, a sanctuary amidst the city's indifference and a wealth of wisdom. "The world of innovation is a battlefield, child," he warned, his voice raspy with age. "Expect resistance, expect sabotage. Your ideas threaten established powers." His words proved prophetic. Soon after her first promising tests, a rival inventor, a well-funded corporate entity with a reputation for aggressive tactics, made thinly veiled attempts to discredit her work, even tampering with her early prototypes. Alara, though shaken, refused to yield. She worked longer, harder, her trust in Dr. Eris growing with each passing day. There were moments, dark and suffocating, when the weight of her sacrifices threatened to crush her. The loneliness, the constant fatigue, the gnawing doubt that perhaps Mr. Thorne had been right after all. She often found herself staring at her grandmother's photograph, drawing strength from the silent promise within its faded edges. She gave up any semblance of a personal life, pouring every ounce of her being into her research. Sleep became a luxury, meals an afterthought. She risked everything, her last few dollars going into crucial components, her future hanging by a thread. Then, one exhilarating evening, it happened. A small, carefully constructed device, humming softly on Dr. Eris's workbench, generated a sustained, measurable output, exceeding all theoretical predictions. It was a breakthrough, small in scale but monumental in its implications. A quiet, triumphant smile touched Alara's lips, a silent vindication. Dr. Eris, watching her, nodded slowly, a profound understanding passing between them. Their success, however, did not go unnoticed. Unbeknownst to them, the whispers of a revolutionary new energy source had begun to circulate within the city's powerful corporate circles. A mysterious entity, a shadow in the cutthroat world of technology, had begun to take a very keen interest in Alara's emerging work. The whispers soon escalated into tangible interest. Alara's innovation, a compact, highly efficient energy generator, began to attract a modest but crucial wave of investment. Her fledgling company, which she aptly named Luminatech, started to grow, slowly but steadily, like a seed breaking through hardened earth. Despite the burgeoning success, Alara deliberately maintained a remarkably low public profile. She understood that true power lay not in flashy appearances, but in the quiet, relentless pursuit of her vision. The memory of past humiliation, the sting of public ridicule, had taught her the value of discretion and strategic anonymity. She preferred to let her technology speak for itself, rather than becoming a spectacle. Back in her hometown, a world away from the gleaming laboratories and hushed boardrooms, Mr. Thorne, the man who had once so confidently dismissed her, gradually became aware of her rising star. Initially, the reports filtered through local gossip, then through regional news channels, and finally through national publications. His initial disbelief, a stubborn refusal to accept that the impoverished dreamer could achieve anything of substance, slowly curdled into a bitter cocktail of envy and resentment. He saw not her brilliance, but an opportunity. A chance to exploit her success, to somehow reclaim a piece of the prosperity he believed she had unfairly stolen from his own stagnant dominion. His mind, ever calculating, began to churn with schemes to re-enter her orbit, to bend her newfound influence to his advantage. As Luminatech expanded, Alara found herself navigating a bewildering labyrinth of corporate ethics and moral compromises. Each decision, from sourcing materials to hiring practices, presented a new challenge, forcing her to confront the stark realities of the business world. She faced difficult choices, often having to balance her ideals with the pragmatic demands of growth and profit. There were tempting shortcuts, lucrative deals that would compromise her core values, but she steadfastly refused to deviate from her commitment to sustainability and integrity. She remembered Dr. Eris's warning about the battlefield of innovation, and every day was a testament to its truth. One afternoon, an unexpected email appeared in her inbox, an attempt at reconnection from a former associate in her hometown, someone who had conspicuously sided with Mr. Thorne during her darkest hour. The message, filled with carefully worded congratulations and thinly veiled requests for collaboration, was a stark reminder of the fair-weather friends and opportunistic individuals who now sought to bask in her reflected glory. Alara deleted it without a second thought, her focus unwavering. Despite the relentless pressures, Alara found solace and strength in her growing team at Luminatech. They were a diverse group of brilliant minds, united by a shared passion for her vision. She fostered an environment of mutual respect and collaborative spirit, creating a new kind of family, a stark contrast to the judgmental community she had left behind. They worked tirelessly, driven by her infectious enthusiasm and unwavering belief in their mission. The camaraderie, the shared late nights, the bursts of collective triumph forged a bond that transcended mere employment. The pressure mounted exponentially as Luminatech prepared for its major product launch, an event poised to redefine the global energy landscape. The stakes were incredibly high, the expectations immense. Every detail, from manufacturing logistics to marketing strategies, consumed Alara's every waking moment. This intense dedication, however, came at a personal cost. A burgeoning romantic relationship, a quiet connection that had offered a rare glimpse of personal happiness, was gently but firmly put on hold. Her ambition, her singular focus on Luminatech's success, demanded absolute priority. She knew it was a sacrifice, but one she was willing to make for the greater good of her vision. Then, just weeks before the eagerly anticipated launch, a chilling discovery shattered the fragile peace. A meticulously orchestrated plot to steal Luminatech's intellectual property, a sophisticated corporate espionage scheme, was unearthed. Alara, her heart pounding with a mixture of betrayal and fury, realized the battle was far from over. It had merely entered a new, more dangerous phase. Alara, a master strategist beneath her calm exterior, moved with calculated precision. The revelation of the IP theft, rather than paralyzing her, ignited a cold, focused resolve. Using the very digital breadcrumbs left by the would-be corporate spies, she meticulously traced their connections, uncovering a vast network of shell companies and shadowy operatives. Instead of merely defending, she launched a counteroffensive, feeding them carefully crafted disinformation, while simultaneously securing her true innovations with impregnable firewalls and legal maneuvers. When the perpetrators, a consortium of jealous competitors, attempted to leak what they believed was Luminatech's core technology, they found themselves exposed, ridiculed, and facing a barrage of lawsuits. Alara had not just thwarted the theft. She had turned the tables with devastating efficiency, effectively neutralizing her rivals and solidifying Luminatech's position. The product launch was, as predicted, a monumental success. Luminatech's revolutionary energy solution, sleek, efficient, and truly sustainable, took the world by storm. It wasn't just an innovation, it was a paradigm shift, rendering outdated technologies obsolete almost overnight. The global energy sector, once dominated by fossil fuels, began its inexorable transformation. Alara, once the scorned dreamer, became a global sensation, her face gracing the covers of business and science magazines alike. Her genius was undeniable, her resilience legendary. She was hailed not just as an inventor, but as a visionary, a titan of industry who had single-handedly reshaped the future. News of her immense wealth and influence, meticulously reported by international media, inevitably infiltrated the quiet confines of her hometown. The once skeptical whispers turned into awestruck murmurs, then into outright boasts of knowing her when. The community that had once mocked her now claimed her as their own, a testament to humanity's fickle nature. Mr. Thorne, his own fortunes dwindling amidst the shifting economic landscape, found himself teetering on the brink of financial ruin. His traditional businesses, reliant on outdated practices, could not compete in the new, energy-efficient world Alara had ushered in. Desperation gnawed at him, and he began to scheme, convinced that Alara, in her boundless success, could somehow be persuaded to save him. Then came the embossed invitation, delivered by special courier, the prestigious Global Innovator Award, to be presented at an exclusive ceremony. The location? Her hometown. Alara stared at the gilded card, a complex tapestry of emotions swirling within her. The thought of returning, of confronting the ghosts of her past and the pain inflicted upon her, was a heavy burden. Would she be able to face them with the same composure she now commanded in corporate boardrooms? Liam, her old friend, reached out through a mutual contact. His message was simple, heartfelt, and devoid of any expectation, merely expressing profound admiration for her achievements and a quiet regret for not having been able to offer more support when she needed it most. His words were a balm, a reminder of the few genuine connections she had once shared. The internal conflict raged. Vengeance, a sweet, tempting whisper, vied with the quiet dignity of forgiveness. Was it truly forgiveness if she still harbored resentment? Or was it simply a waste of precious energy to dwell on past hurts? The decision weighed heavily on her. But ultimately, Alara knew she had to go. She would accept the award. Her return would not be an act of vengeance, but a testament to her journey, a silent, powerful reckoning. She began meticulously planning her return, not just as a triumphant CEO, but as a woman who had transcended her past, ready to face it on her own terms. The stage was set, and the town, unknowingly, awaited its prodigal daughter. The sleek black private jet descended through the morning haze, a silver streak against the pale sky, landing softly on the newly refurbished airstrip just outside her hometown. A flurry of media attention, unprecedented for this quiet corner of the world, erupted the moment Alara stepped onto the tarmac. Flashing cameras, eager reporters shouting questions, and a phalanx of security personnel formed an impenetrable barrier around her. It was a stark, almost absurd contrast to the tearful, solitary departure she had made years ago on a rickety bus, clutching her worn notebooks and a fading photograph. The town, once a sleepy hollow, was now transformed, buzzing with an electric excitement, a collective awe at the return of its most famous and wealthiest daughter. As Alara navigated the carefully choreographed events, she encountered a parade of familiar faces. Former detractors, those who had once openly mocked her ambitions, now fawning over her with sickening sweetness. Their eyes, once filled with derision, were now wide with admiration, or perhaps calculation. She met them with a polite, almost detached smile, her gaze unwavering, betraying none of the old pain, only a cool, professional distance. Their effusive praises, their transparent attempts to claim a shared history, washed over her like an irrelevant tide. Amidst the forced pleasantries, a private, tense meeting had been arranged with Mr. Thorne. He sat across from her in a sterile conference room, a shadow of his former blustering self. His posture was slumped, his face etched with worry lines, his once sharp eyes now clouded with desperation. He spoke in hushed, apologetic tones, attempting to rewrite history, to minimize his past cruelty, and to subtly, then overtly, seek assistance. He spoke of misunderstandings and youthful ignorance, painting himself as a victim of circumstance. Alara listened, her expression unreadable. When he finished, she spoke, her voice calm and measured, yet carrying an undeniable weight. She didn't raise her voice, didn't resort to anger, but her words were a cutting rebuke, laying bare his past actions with devastating clarity. "Mr. Thorne," she began, her tone devoid of emotion, "your memory seems selective. I recall vividly the public ridicule, the dismissive laughter, the deliberate attempts to undermine my credibility. Your misunderstandings cost me years of struggle, countless sleepless nights, and moments of utter despair. I stand here today not because of your support, but despite your obstruction. My success is not an invitation for you to absolve yourself of your past." She made it clear, without a hint of malice, that she owed him nothing, and his current predicament was entirely of his own making. The air in the room grew heavy with his unspoken shame. Later that day, a much-anticipated reunion took place. Liam, his kind eyes still holding the same quiet warmth, met her at a secluded cafe. There were no grand gestures, no awkward apologies, just a shared understanding. They spoke of the past, acknowledging the pain, the loneliness, but also the strength it had forged. Liam expressed his regret for his inability to protect her, and Alara, in turn, thanked him for the quiet encouragement that had been a lifeline in her darkest hours. Their bond, tempered by time and distance, re-emerged, stronger and more profound. Alara found herself drawn to her old, humble home. The small, weathered house stood exactly as she remembered it, a poignant relic of a forgotten life. She walked through the familiar rooms, touching the faded wallpaper, the worn wooden frames. It was here that the dreams were born, here that the seeds of her ambition were planted. She reflected on her origins, on the long, arduous path she had taken, and felt a surge of quiet gratitude for the journey, for the resilience it had instilled within her. A key moment of emotional reconciliation occurred not with a former detractor, but with Mrs. Henderson, her former science teacher, who had always believed in Alara, but had been powerless against the town's prevailing winds. Mrs. Henderson, now retired, approached Alara with tears in her eyes, genuinely expressing her regret for not having spoken up more forcefully. Alara embraced her warmly, a genuine smile gracing her lips. This was a true connection, a moment of authentic understanding and shared history. Finally, the award ceremony. The town hall, usually reserved for mundane community meetings, was transformed into a glittering venue. Alara, radiant in an elegant gown, stood before the podium, the Global Innovator Award gleaming beside her. Her speech was eloquent, powerful, and subtly addressed her past. She spoke of perseverance, of the importance of believing in oneself against all odds, of the transformative power of innovation. She thanked those who had supported her, however quietly, and acknowledged the challenges she had faced, without naming names, letting the audience draw their own conclusions. The entire town hung on her every word. Just as the applause began to swell, Alara paused, a knowing glint in her eyes. "And tonight," she announced, her voice resonating through the hall, "I have one more announcement." The unexpected announcement sent a ripple of murmurs through the captivated audience. Alara's smile broadened, her gaze sweeping across the faces, some expectant, others apprehensive. "Tonight, I am proud to announce the establishment of the Lumina Foundation for Future Innovators," she declared, her voice clear and strong. "This foundation will be dedicated to identifying and nurturing young talent from underserved communities, providing them with the resources, mentorship, and opportunities they need to bring their groundbreaking ideas to fruition." A collective gasp filled the hall as she continued, "And its inaugural headquarters, its very heart, will be right here, in this town, the place where my own journey began." This act was not merely charity. It was a profound statement of purpose, a powerful investment in the very future that had once scorned her. It was a demonstration of true leadership, not through retribution, but through empowerment. Mr. Thorne, seated near the back, felt the full weight of her magnanimity crash down upon him. He had anticipated many scenarios: a public shaming, a cold dismissal, perhaps even a grudging offer of assistance. He had never imagined this. Her actions, born not of anger but of a deeper, more profound vision, left him with no room for self-justification. He was forced to confront the stark contrast between his small-minded cruelty and her expansive generosity. The shame, once a fleeting discomfort, now settled deep within his bones, a permanent resident. Alara made sure her grandmother's legacy, the quiet inspiration behind her own relentless pursuit of knowledge, was honored in the most fitting way. A significant portion of the Lumina Foundation's initial funding was allocated to establishing the Eleanor Vance Research Institute for Sustainable Technologies, a state-of-the-art facility designed to foster cutting-edge renewable energy solutions. It would stand as a beacon of innovation, a testament to the visionary woman who had first ignited Alara's passion. The institute, situated on the outskirts of the town, quickly became a hub of activity, drawing brilliant minds from across the globe, bringing new life and purpose to the community. The town, once stagnant and resistant to change, slowly began a process of healing and transformation. The Lumina Foundation and the Eleanor Vance Institute injected not just capital, but hope, and a renewed sense of possibility. Local businesses thrived, new jobs were created, and the younger generation, seeing Alara's example, dared to dream bigger. While the scars of the past remained, they began to fade, replaced by a vibrant tapestry of progress and cooperation. Alara had not returned to exact vengeance, but to cultivate a future, proving that true redemption lay not in punishment, but in upliftment. Alara herself found a deeper sense of purpose beyond the immense wealth and global recognition. Her focus shifted from personal triumph to global impact, leveraging Luminatech's resources and the Foundation's reach to address pressing environmental challenges worldwide. She became a leading voice for sustainable development, Her story, a powerful narrative of resilience and the transformative power of human ingenuity. The world, powered increasingly by Luminatech's clean energy solutions, began to look different, brighter, a testament to her unwavering vision. A final scene unfolded on a serene evening. Ilara stood on a balcony overlooking a sprawling city, its skyline punctuated by the soft, ethereal glow of Luminatech's energy towers. The world below hummed with clean, sustainable power, a tangible manifestation of her dream. She reflected on the long, arduous journey, the moments of despair, the triumphs, the betrayals, and the unwavering belief that had carried her through. True victory, she realized, was not merely personal success, but the ability to lift others, to create a legacy that transcended individual ambition and served the greater good. Beside her, Liam stood, his hand gently resting on hers. Their relationship, forged in the crucible of shared history and renewed through mutual respect, had blossomed into a partnership that extended far beyond professional endeavors. They shared not only a vision for a better world, but also a quiet, profound understanding that transcended words. Ilara, no longer defined by the humiliation of her past, but by her enduring legacy of innovation and compassion, looked out at the bright future, a quiet smile gracing her lips. Her journey had come full circle, not in a return to the past, but in the creation of a future more brilliant than anyone could have imagined.